Hey, it's Soul with another video. Patch 11.0.5 releases soon, and there's a lot happening, but I wanted to talk separately about transmog farming after the patch in a kind of status update. What has and what hasn't changed to our ability to farm up old content in this upcoming patch. You're going to find the answers here, or at least most of them, and then you can decide what to do. If this video turns out to be helpful, please hit the like button, subscribe for more WoW coverage, and catch me live when I'm streaming. There are three big changes coming for transmog. One is automatic. Most quests you've completed that gave different kinds of appearances will all be given to the player, and this is retroactive, and hey, that's cool. The second change makes it so the appearances from class-restricted gear can now be learned on any character. That means gear from the following raids, some of which are class-restricted, can now be learned without having to switch to the right armor type or class. Gear from Molten Core and Blackwing Lair, it's up for grabs. Same goes for Nighthold, Tomb of Sargeras, and Antorus. You can do what I'm doing and start farming these places now without looting the bosses. This way the loot goes to your mailbox, and then on patch day you can unlock tons of transmog without filling up your inventories beforehand. The last change, Shadowlands raids got a pass, and in so few words, players can now solo all of the encounters. I'm going to give a list of targeted changes I noticed from testing in just a bit. First, I want to talk briefly on the state of speed sets in the War Within. It's been a little while and you deserve an update. Having a good speed set on a character who might do all of your farming can be pretty useful, especially now that one character can collect virtually all the appearances. The only limitation is that it's just one character you're using. As for speed, in so few words, the whole speed set meta, it's kind of in shambles with big nerfs to the Azerite gear that made old world farming feel super fast. But a speed set still is useful, so here's what you do. By using specific Azerite gear from Battle for Azeroth, we can get up to 8% speed increases from the head, the shoulder, and the chest slots. It's still a lot more speed than what you can get anywhere else. More details on where to get those for your armor type are down in the video description. Also keep in mind that Azerite gear doesn't work in Shadowlands and later expansion content. The Onyx Amulet still works everywhere, and it's a good and pretty cheap addition to your speed stat. There's a new Bracer enchant that adds 1,000 speed rating to your bracers, which I suggest using, and the old vanilla minor speed increase enchant is still far superior to anything else available, however you do sacrifice a ton of item level. There are a few small things like a Delve Trinket that adds speed for like 20 seconds. It's a nice thing to run into, but something like that, it's not really a must-have. Speed tertiaries found on gear give roughly 2% haste per piece before diminishing returns. The rule of thumb, though, remains the same. You want to find speed gear with both speed tertiaries and secondary stats that maximize the use of the Longstrider buff, but don't break the bank while doing this, and again, Longstrider doesn't work everywhere. Between regular drops out in the world and delves and other farmable places, you just want to keep an eye open for what drops and be as conservative as you can get away with. Don't buy into the idea of, oh my god, I gotta get best in slot speed gear, because with new seasons come small increases to these speed ratings. So in my opinion, it's not worth the gold or the extra time farming to maintain a speed set more than like once per expansion or every 2 years. Now if you do find pieces, definitely use it or even sell it, because these can be pretty profitable. With Shadowlands raids entering Legacy mode at the start of this expansion, most of the bosses have been soloable. 11.0.5 takes it all the way. For the most part, these raids can be soloed through good old violence. Bring a high DPS character to overcome just about every encounter at every difficulty. Well, let's get specific with some of the changes I found. In Uldir, Mithrax no longer has an invulnerable phase and can be killed pretty much straight away. Unfortunately, the PTR stopped working before I could look more into BFA raids, but for the most part the fights are very killable at max level. Even Shadowlands raids should be comfortably doable at the 550 or so item level, but of course, more item level and DPS goes a long way. In Castle Nathria, Kael'thas heals himself 1% every second, so basically the fight finishes itself as long as you keep killing ads, and notably the Shade of Kael'thas when it spawns. Zymox's traps no longer actually trap, and his mind control ghost mechanic is gone. That was kind of it for Castle Nathria. The other fights seem mostly unchanged, and they're not very threatening at all. Next, over at Sanctum of Domination, the anima powers before the Terragru are now fixed. The same 4 powers will always appear, and all other powers will no longer spawn. Picking up the anti-fear power is more than enough to complete the fight, and the rest is just icing on the cake. The Eye of the Jailer fight no longer spawns the ads that try to chain pull you off the platform, which makes this a very simple tank and spank. Fate Scribe mechanically has not changed, but after failing to line up the runes, the AoE wipe damage that you'd normally see, it's pretty trivial now. You just continue the fight and you're fine. Kill Fizad is unfortunately broken as of current testing, but I'll point out what I saw to give you an idea of what Blizzard's trying to do here. During the encounter, Rufus the puppy spawns, and it kind of sort of tanks the boss. He can't die, but doesn't really deal damage either. It looks like his purpose is to make sure the fight just doesn't break, because when you kill Kel'Thuzad, you're supposed to go down into his phylactery and defeat the NPC inside, and then return to reality and re-defeat the boss. Rufus is there to make sure the fight doesn't reset, basically. Right now, though, the phylactery room is empty. The NPC we need to kill can't be found or targeted, and hopefully this will be fixed by the time the patch goes live. Because of this, I couldn't test Sylvanas, but I suspect she'll be fixed too, in such a way that it's going to be a little bit easier to travel down the second phase, with the chains, and I'm guessing you can no longer be knocked off the platform in the third phase. Now that's just a guess, but it's clear Blizzard wants to make these raids perfectly doable with these fixes. Moving on to Sepulchre, Zymox used to do tremendous damage with his shockwaves, but not anymore. His traps also no longer trap, which makes this a very easy fight. In the Anduin fight, when the Lich King comes out, he now transfers a crazy amount of damage over to Anduin, making this encounter a lot shorter and easier. Lords of Dread retains an ability that can cause a lot of trouble, so I'll tell you how to do the fight. Target Contessa and burn her down first, especially during the Swarm phase when you can deal extra damage. This is to avoid the Horrify effect she eventually causes that you otherwise can't get out of without a hard immunity. Now once she's gone, Mal'Ganis is trivial because he also no longer heals with his Tank Buster move. Rygallon is also now a trivial fight. His Cosmic Orbs no longer apply a debuff that would otherwise insta-kill you, and even taking Big Bang will simply phase you out and then he just comes back only to die. The Jailer actually retains a few mechanics. He casts Rune of Damnation, which knocks you backwards, and you need to jump into one of these hexes about a half second before it goes off. This will spawn a pillar used to dodge the mind control cast he does immediately after. He'll cast one more mind control during the fight, but after that he can just be DPS down. Just make sure you don't get knocked back to where you don't want to go. The current state of soloing content in Legacy mode is so far looking a lot better than previous expansions, like we had to wait a really long time for BFA raids to be soloable. It's got me hopeful that when Midnight releases, all Dragonflight raids will be in a soloable state right when Legacy mode becomes a thing. For now, it's a bit more to look forward to in next week's patch. Easier transmog unlocks, more Legacy raids that are soloable, and I hope this turned out to be helpful. If so, please like the video, subscribe for more coverage, catch me live, and I'll catch you later. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.